Detecting Threats in the Enterprise Network. I'm Tonya Hall, and joining me is TK Keanini, Distinguished Engineer and Product Line CTO for Analytics at Cisco. Welcome, TK.
Thank you.
So, welcome back, I should say. It's been a while. Talk a little bit about your role and the work that you do at Cisco.
I'm in the security business group, and my teams take care of what's called advanced threat. So I guess I have to explain how all threats are not alike. Advanced threat deals with the most advanced threat actors. Oftentimes, they're already in your network. So we have to develop technology to detect and mitigate and remediate them from your network.
How has detecting threats in enterprise networks changed over the last even few years?
Mm-hmm. I think they've changed on a couple of dimensions. One is what companies are defending has changed drastically. So it used to be a real big focus on the data center. Now the business is really spread out across public clouds, public cloud workloads. A lot of the business is in third party. It's just all over the place, right? The topology has changed greatly. So that's sort of one dimension. The other dimension is that a lot of the detection we do on the network, before it used to be a pretty direct inspection. You watch the traffic, you look for bad things. About 95% of the network now is encrypted. And that's actually a good thing because it protects your privacy. It protects the confidentiality of the customers and everything else. The bad part of that equation is it works just as well for the bad guys. And so we've had to develop a lot of techniques whereby we know we're not going to be able to see the traffic, but we have to develop algorithms to make inferences about what we can't see. And so that's the other part that's changed pretty drastically in the past 10 years or so.
How do you use behavioral methods to detect threat actors? Is this where the machine learning and artificial intelligence come to play?
Yeah, there's a lot of different techniques, and the good news is that the reason you have to go in thinking that your adversary is just as smart as you are, okay? You also have to know that your adversary is just as resourced as you are. So I work around a lot of smart people, and some days they win, some days we win, kind of thing. But instead of, you have to assume that they're going to be able to evade one method, but maybe not all 70 methods at the same time. So you put together these analytical pipelines. Some of it may use machine learning. Some of it might use just, high school statistics. You have to be pretty pragmatic about what it is you're trying to achieve and then use the right tool to achieve it. But a good example of where things are today is, back in the day, you would just have a list of bad things. It would be a bad IP address. A bad actor would be known by a domain name or something of that nature. And again, the relationship or attribution would be pretty direct. These days, it's very different because much of the time when we're detecting the advanced threat, it's based on behavior. So a quick analogy would be, if you find something, take a steak knife. Actually, let's use a chef knife. So chef knife, it's a chef knife. It's not a cleaver by its shape. You can assume it actually has a particular behavior, which is it's used by a chef or somebody preparing dinner. And on Tuesday, that same object could be used as a murder weapon. So that's a huge change in behavior, right? There's that kind of thing going on in the network, which is, Alice's account has been compromised, and you're not really looking for, you can't look at Alice's account and know that it's good or bad. But when her behavior changes on the network, like say she works in accounting and one day she wakes up and she's checking out source code, that's an alarming thing, right? So that's kind of an example of a behavioral based sort of detection.
You've been quoted as saying it's not that the attacker is breaking into your network anymore, they're actually logging in.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Yeah, believe it or not, a lot of enterprises still haven't gone to two-factor authentication. That would literally wipe that threat off the network. But be it because of legacy systems or whatever it is, this single-factor authentication is just too weak. And attackers, because of phishing and everything else, they're really able to, I would say, this is not being scientific, but I'll be just a wild guess. You can pick whatever your number is, but 1 in every 1,000 accounts, right, per week is probably compromised. And it's compromised because somebody clicked on the wrong button and got fooled into passing their credentials, or they're using their credentials in multiple places, and the adversaries are just using machines to brute force everything and try that combination. But one way or the other, they will get a hold of a credential somehow, and they will use that to not only infiltrate your network, but to dig deep and persist. And that's their game, is if they can live on your network for a very long time, they could even sell those capabilities to someone else, right? So it's a new day in sort of threat actor land.
So where do you see the greatest gaps in security, and what is the low-hanging fruit, if you will, that every enterprise should audit and address today?
There are some fundamentals that you would be surprised certain folks aren't practicing. I think multi-factor authentication is just table stakes. If you're not using that even personally, I think it's just a matter of time before you get into trouble. Even with that, you need other things. You need things on your network that are not just detecting bad things from lists. Like you get a bunch of threat intelligence and you enact that threat intelligence, but you need also systems to be checking the behavior of applications and users and things of that nature. So all of those things, I think, kind of come together to form, your strategy is not necessarily to win and never be attacked. Your strategy should be to raise the cost of the adversary pursuing you, right? If you're too expensive to pursue, they'll go pursue somebody else, frankly. And so that really is a very pragmatic approach that I think everybody should adopt.
TK Keanini, Distinguished Engineer and Product Line CTO for Analytics at Cisco. If somebody wants to connect with you, TK, maybe they want to find out more about the work you're doing, how can they do that?
Probably LinkedIn would be best. Just, type in my name and send me a request. And yeah, that's probably the best place.
Absolutely. Or find him speaking somewhere, because he usually does. Thanks again for joining us, TK. And if you guys want to find more of my interviews, you can do that right here or go to tonyahall.net. Thanks for watching.